Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Awkward Season 4, Episode 7, After Hours, and this episode was amazing. I love this episode, and, last week's episode was okay, probably the weakest episode of the season. I still agree that it really was the weakest episode of the season. However, this episode was amazing, by far the best episode of the season, just wow. I was not expecting that ending. There's one character on this show that needs to leave, now, but we'll get to that, but we're supposed to not like that character. But let's just get into this episode because I absolutely loved it. Also, this episode was the first episode of Season 4 to have one main storyline. One main storyline throughout the whole episode, and I love it when Awkward doesn't do, does, one storyline episode because they do a really great job with them. And because of them doing a one storyline episode, it reminded me a lot of A Little Less Conversation. Because this episode also had to do with another BFGF BFF. They're doing that again in this episode, and I was very happy about that. So basically, you know how Jenna's been very, positive and very mature lately? We see that she's really getting used to moving on with her life, which is fantastic. She's getting used to having a new boyfriend, her new boyfriend Luke, very loving, caring boyfriend Luke. And she doesn't have any feelings for Matty. That's out the window pretty much. So everything is going great for her. So Luke comes over to help her with her homework. He's helping her with her homework. And they're about to, have sex and everything. But Lacey comes in to basically stop them because she doesn't want them to do that. So he then is about to kiss her goodbye. But guess who shows up? Matty shows up. And we see right away that Matty is making some very bad choices because Matty was grounded for life because of the thing he did at Mr. PHHS, with the whole stand-up thing, and him telling his mom the truth. He was grounded for life because of that, as he called it. So because of that happening, he was grounded. So, and he snuck out of his house. So right away, he's making a very bad decision. But Luke was actually very sweet to Matty, and I was actually very happy about this because, Luke could have been really mean to him and be like, hey, man, just back off from my girlfriend, but that's not what he did. I mean, if I had someone and someone was after my girlfriend, which I don't have a girlfriend, but if someone was after my girlfriend, I'd probably say the same thing. I probably would say the same thing to them. So I was glad that Luke was actually very sweet to Matty. He introduces himself to Matty, and he basically made things a little bit less awkward because he could clearly see that this was very awkward for Jenna. And you know what? I thought that was great for Luke to do because he made it less awkward for her. He really does care about Jenna, and it really shows how much he cares about her. Now, Matty, in the meantime, had gone to Jenna's because he wanted to give the concert ticket to Jenna and Luke because Jake and Tamara are done. Basically, they're at the, they're completely over. So they're in a very bad state, and because of that happening, he wanted to give the tickets to Jenna and Luke so they could go together. Unfortunately, Luke has midterms, and he can't go, so, but he does say that if Jenna and Matty want to go together, they can, and that's very sweet of Luke, actually, because, Luke doesn't really care if Jenna goes with her ex-boyfriend, because he knows that she doesn't have any feelings for him, and I thought that was great. I really did enjoy that. Then we get a very funny scene between Jake and Tamara. I loved their whole fight in this episode. It was absolutely hilarious. I thought it was great. They're at each other's throats in this episode, in the beginning of the episode at least, and Jake is beyond angry over Tamara's catfish scheme. He said he even believed that Autumn had dingoes in the Australian outback, and there's a really great scene where, Tamara is yelling at him and everything, and he says, maybe I should just write a song called "Sorry, my ex is a speed human," because of the things she said, like TTYL and BFF, things like that, where she shortens things. He was really calling her out on that. I thought that was actually really funny because no one's actually, I think, called Tamara out on that ever, and I think that was great that he actually called her out on that because that's really funny if you think about it. Nobody talks like that in real life except for Tamara, so it's a pretty big thing that he called her out on that. But I thought that was pretty funny actually. So Jenna apologizes to Matty for making out in front of Luke, and Matty's very rude to her. He says, well, Jenna, it's not like it was the first time. And of course, he's referencing to Colin. The whole reason that Matty and Jenna aren't together in the first place is because of Colin. And, Matty said he was happy for Jenna. But this time, Matty is actually happy for them. He's happy for them, but is he really? You don't really know. So, Valerie calls Tamara, Jake, Matty, and Jenna into her office, basically because she sees that Jake and Tamara, they're having a lot of problems, and she says that they need to stop fighting, and basically they need to act more like Jenna and Matty. She says that Jenna and Matty should be the ones fighting right now. Jake and Tamara have no reason to fight. Jake and Matty do have reasons to fight. I mean, Jenna and Matty do have reasons to fight, so, if there's anyone that should be fighting, it's Jenna and Matty, but they're not fighting. They're being very mature about it, and Jake decides, he's like, fine, I give up, and he gives up, and he actually gives the ticket to Tamara, so, we do see that Jake and Tamara are protesting a little too much to really hate each other. They really do hate each other, it seems, and Tamara's completely over Jake, so we then see that, Valerie told them that, would you want to give the ticket to someone, and Valerie said her, but, Jenna says that Valerie does have a good point, because she feels bad for Matty, because Matty's going to be going with them to this BFGF, BFF thing, because he was originally invited to it, so he's going with them, but he wants Matty to have, Jenna wants Matty to have someone with him, she wants him to have someone to be with him, so she decides to pick Eva, and she says, she'd pick Eva, and Tamara says, no, you don't want that to happen, because Jenna told Tamara that seeing Matty move on would make her happy, and she wished Matty would bring a girl to a concert, and Tamara said, no, you're just saying that, there's nobody who is happy seeing their ex with someone else, and, Jenna said she is happy about that, and Jenna brings Eva over, and basically she asks Eva if she likes live music, so Jenna, Tamara, Eva, so it's Jenna, Tamara, Matty, Eva, and Sadie and Austin. I was surprised that Sadie and Austin tagged along because Sadie hates Jenna, but, I guess they needed a third person, and Sadie and Austin were available, so they all head to the concert together. And Eva, at this point, she's putting on the, we start to see a very rebellious side of Eva in this episode, definitely. We start to see that something's off about Eva, because Jenna's really, she's also really trying to get Matty and Eva together, and, she tells Matty they look really cute together, and Matty asks Jenna what was up and told her to stop being weird. He's like, what are you doing? Because, he's kind of weird. He's kind of weirded out by that. But Sadie, in the meantime, wants to have a fun time, get drunk and things like that, and Eva told them they could stop by a place she knew to get a fake ID. Of course, Sadie calls her out on this, because it doesn't really make sense, because Eva said it, she said, I got a fake ID at 15. But Sadie said, wait a minute, you said at 15 you were at a boarding school. And Eva says, oh, I got it there while I was in boarding school. And Sadie is kind of getting a little skeptical about this. And I myself was kind of like, I'm starting to not trust Eva. I mean, I never really trusted Eva, like, especially after episode 5. I thought she was going to use that picture to actually, turn against Matty, and maybe get Matty exposed or something, or send it to Jenna. That's not what she's actually doing with that picture. Because once Sadie does this to Eva, Eva decides to have a little, as she calls it, a chit-chat with Sadie. So she shows Sadie, she says, oh, I have this great photo of you for your profile picture for Twitter. And she shows Sadie the picture of Matty and Sadie in bed together. And Sadie told Eva, she says, you cannot show him that, you know nothing happened. And, Eva says, I know, it just kind of looks like something did. For the first time, we see Eva as this really mean girl. Eva is out to actively destroy Sadie. That's why Eva took the picture. She wants to destroy Sadie. And Eva told Sadie to hold off on the Sadiness, or Eva would reveal the photo to Austin. And at the same time, Eva's actually kind of helping Sadie, because she's helping her become less of a bitch, which, I don't know if that's possible for Sadie, but in this episode, she might have to stop being a bitch, or else Eva's gonna post that picture. So obviously, Sadie's very disturbed by this, and she doesn't know what to do. So it's a pretty big thing there, and basically, it's a pretty big thing there. So that was definitely very surprising. I did not expect that to happen. I expected Eva to actually, show that, try to show it to Jenna or something and try to help Matty, but that's not what she wants to do, it seems. It seems like she doesn't give a shit about Matty, actually. So Eva asked if Jenna would invite her to the concert to set her up with Matty, and Jenna said she would be totally cool with them getting together, and Eva was all over that because she actually likes Matty. You know, you can see Eva really does care about Matty. So Matty and Eva, they're flirting and everything, and we see that Matty has this tattoo. He wants to get part of his tattoo removed because it says Jenna forever, and Eva says, you know, you can get rid of the Jenna part so it just says forever. And, it's just like, no. Seriously, it's just, no, because it says forever, and it's just, like, it's really stupid at that scene. That was just, like, annoying. So Tamara's very concerned that Jake was having too much fun with his new groupies, because, you know, she knows that he has a lot of girls following him, and basically... And he's posting on his Twitter, like, oh, I'm hanging out with these girls in a hot tub. And she starts to get very, like, jealous of him because she decides to just, like, stalk him on social media. Because she's done talking to him, so she's just stalking him on social media. And it turns out, though, he's actually just watching porn at home. Because, so I found that pretty interesting, actually. So he's actually very desperate, probably, and probably really does still love Tamara. But he's just pissed at her that that's the way he's channeling his aggression, is just watching porn. So... Jenna starts to realize that maybe she still did have feelings for Matty. So, you know, because she's kind of like, she starts to see Matty and Eva together, and she starts to get a little bit jealous. So, naturally, Jenna started to try and make Matty jealous. Which I was kind of upset that Jenna had feelings for Matty. I'm like, no, please. That is the one thing that cannot happen right now. Matty, as I said, is not in the position to date people. Matty is not in the position to date people. He should not be dating anyone. At this point, you know, I know that Jenna was trying to do a generous thing and hook them up, which is fine, but the most surprise, you know, I don't understand why Jenna was upset all of a sudden. It kind of was just, like, out of nowhere, which was fine for me, because I understand that it's realistic. You can't get over that. I mean, it really is, you know, when you think about it, it is realistic, because when you have someone that you've loved for all these years, you know, think about Jenna. She's loved Matty for about 3 years now. She can't just get over him. It's not possible, and she's realizing that. She can't just get over him, so she wanted to try and make Matty jealous. Here's where it got really interesting. Tamara has this scary run-in with a guy who wanted to take her phone. Jenna allowed the guy to get away with it, and to further ruin the night, Tamara's car gets towed. They forked over the $200, but the guy still towed the car. And, Jake actually ends up saving them, but he picks him up and he says, I only did it for Matty, so... You know, that's pretty big there. So, Jenna was no longer happy with the Matty and Eva pairing, and Matty knew this, because, you know, she was just really, really upset that this is happening. She basically just, you know, thought to herself, this was a horrible idea, why did I do this? That's kind of what she's thinking here. So, Sadie then blamed Eva for the night's disaster, and Eva then texts a picture of Matty with the caption, don't test me, bitch. So... Obviously, that's a pretty big thing, and, you know, Austin saw that picture, and he says, what's that picture about? And Sadie says, oh, it's nothing. So then Jenna told Tamara to lay off of Jake. You know, lay off of Jake, stop stalking him so much, don't worry about it, and Tamara told her to look in the mirror, take a look in the mirror, and basically told her that, so, why should I be over Jake when you're clearly not over Matty? And, you know... Tamara's kind of right on that point, because Jenna was kind of being hypocritical in that. I think the thing is that Jenna's not stalking Jake like Tamara is. Tamara is, like, fixated on Jake, though. Jenna's not fixated on Matty. Matty's part of Jenna's life, yes, but Jenna's focusing on other things that are more important, while Tamara just continues to focus on her relationship with Jake, so, or her ex-relationship with Jake. So Jenna's a little bit of concern about that, obviously. And then we get probably the saddest scene in the episode. Sadie, and, like, very vulnerable. I always love seeing scenes with Sadie and Austin, because when Sadie's around Austin, she's very sweet around him, and I really love that about this next scene. Most times when we see Austin, we see him like this weird guy, but in this episode, we actually saw a very human side of him. She finally tells Austin the truth about the picture of her and Matty. She told him about the kiss and said it meant nothing. And, you know, he says, okay, I'm fine with that. And she says, really great. And she's about to kiss him, but he says, I think we have to break up. And she's very surprised because he didn't see it that way. He said, you lied to me about this. You can't lie to me about something like fidelity. And he tells her that they're done. So, Sadie and Austin are done. Honestly, I feel bad for Sadie because I really like Sadie and Austin because it made Sadie more vulnerable and you cared more for her. But, the whole thing, the thing is that Sadie kind of screwed that whole thing up for herself because if she wouldn't have gone to that bed with Matty, none of this would have happened. However, it's basically Eva's fault because Eva's the one who wanted to destroy her. So Eva's won in that whole plan. And then, Jenna apologized to Matty for being very weird and confessed that Matty dating other people bothered her. And she says she gives Matty her blessing to be with Eva. And Matty says, "Do you know how ridiculous that sounds?" And he said, "We don't need each other's blessings. We're not together." And he says they're not together. And that he says that when he says we're not, he means him and Jenna are not together. And she can't just say that. It's like, they're not getting married, Jenna. They're getting together. It's not like they're getting married. Like, you say you have my blessing when you're getting married to someone. You don't say you have my blessing when you want your ex to date someone that you hooked up with them. It's just, like, really annoying because it's just like, Jenna, you made Matty hook up with Eva. It was your idea to do this. So it's just like, ugh, it's annoying. But honestly, the thing is, I thought that was actually a very good scene because I actually sided with Matty on that point because it was honestly Jenna being just like, ugh. It was annoying because who says that? Nobody says, I give you my blessing to be together. It really is annoying. And then the most surprising scene of the episode happens. Before this, though, Tamara, Jake, and Sadie, basically, they're all alone now. It's really sad. Tamara is heartbroken over Jake. Jenna's officially over Matty. She's now realizing, basically, having that conversation with Matty made Jenna realize, I'm over him. It made her realize that. And, she really realized that in that scene, when she basically, realized I'm over Matty. So, she's happy, but Sadie's very unhappy. So, they all decide she gets text from Lucas that buried with midterms, wish I could be with you. And Jenna realized she had a good guy with Luke and was ready to let go of Matty. So, basically, they all decide to go to this party. They all decide to go to, the college fraternity. And that's where they're going to go in the next episode. They're going to go to a college party in the next episode, just like we saw in Overnight. But it's going to be Sadie, Jenna, and Tamara that go. So, that's going to be interesting to see. And the most surprising scene of the episode happens. So remember how Matty said, they're not going to the concert? Well, Jake and Matty, they are outside and they're drunk. They're completely drunk. And Eva says, I gotta step out of the car for a second. And guess what happens? Guess what happens next? And this is just where I hated Eva's character. I'm just like, Eva is such a bitch in this next scene. That's what I thought. I just thought Eva's a bitch. Because the police show up immediately after she leaves. Immediately after Eva leaves, the police then show up. And this cop is like, he sees them underage drinking. So he's like, what's going... At first he's like, hello, what's going on here? He seems like he's just kind of annoyed. He doesn't seem like he's really mad or anything. It just seems like, it seems like that cop was actually going to be nice and probably going to lay them off and be like, guys, just hide the alcohol. It's going to be fine. I understand. You guys are seniors in high school. You want to have a good time. Just be careful next time. But Matty is basically being a douchebag, being terrible to this cop. He's saying all of this shit to the cop. He's talking shit to the cop. He even says, you don't have to be such a dick to us. And Jake's even telling Matty, he just says, Matty, shut up. And I was saying the same thing. So Matty gets smart with the cop. Jake and Matty get arrested. And that's how the episode ends. And what was really cool is that Jenna said behind cuffs, and then you see them getting handcuffed, and it's just like, wow, I was not expecting that at all. I knew Matty was going to do something really, really bad, but not something like getting arrested. I did not think Matty was capable of doing something like that. But this episode was amazing. I loved everything about it. And you know what? I really don't trust Eva now, because she just abandoned them when they were about to get arrested. She left them there. She just went the other way. It's just like, I don't give a shit about you, bye-bye. Like, seriously, Eva, fuck you. I mean, seriously, I like Eva's character. I understand the purpose of her character. The purpose of the character is to start up the show, which is fine. We need a main character in the show. We need a main villain of the show, and the main villain this season is Eva. Last year was Colin. This year it's Eva. And I'm fine with that, because Eva really is a great villain. She really is. You know, we all thought she was a sweet, innocent girl who was going to be good friends with Jenna and Tamara and replace Ming, but now it's like, you can't trust her. I don't trust Eva anymore, and honestly, I don't know what's going to happen next. However, what I love about this next episode is that it is a direct continuation of the next episode, so I don't think Awkward's ever done that. They've done things where they've had two-part episodes, like, for example, last year with Karmic Relief and Who Do I Want to Be. They didn't really do that in that episode. You know, I think they had, like, a direct continuation sort of thing, but this episode, you know, they're going to have a direct continuation, and we're going to see Matty and Jake in prison in the next episode, and I'm really looking forward to the next episode, because it's going to be awesome to see, because now Jake and Matty are in prison, and we're going to see them in prison. It's going to be really cool to see. It really is going to change the show to see them in prison. I think it's going to make the show darker, and I like the show that is becoming darker. I really do enjoy that. Also, what's going to happen with Eva? It looks like in the next episode, Eva's going to try to make it seem like Jenna doesn't give a shit about Matty. That's what it seems like is going to happen. Also, something's going on with Luke, it seems like, in the next episode, but I don't want to talk about that because it hasn't happened yet. But also, do you think that Jake is really over Tamara? I don't think he is. I really don't think Jake is over Tamara. Jenna's officially over Matty. You can tell Jenna is over Matty, and I'm happy about that, because I honestly don't want Jenna and Matty back together ever. I don't. Because Matty's in a terrible state right now. Do you think that Matty getting arrested will help him maybe fix his life together? I really hope so. I mean, the whole reason they got arrested was because Matty was talking shit to the cop, and if he didn't talk shit to the cop, everything would be fine, and they'd be cool, but, you know, basically, that was the episode. As I said, it was an amazing episode. I love the episode. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Again, what else is going on with Eva? I really do feel like there's something else going on with her. We're gonna find out more about her, I am sure. And, is Sadie and Austin really done? I think Sadie is gonna go after Eva now. I think that's gonna happen. Sadie is gonna go after Eva, because Eva made Sadie confess to her boyfriend something that she would have never wanted to confess to him, something that she never thought she would have to, because she didn't think Eva would take a fucking picture of it. And if Eva wouldn't have taken the fucking picture, then everything would be fine with her and Sadie. But that did not happen. So I think Sadie's going after Eva, and Eva better watch her back. So that's been my review. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys in my next review, which will be for Awkward. So see you then. I mean, not Awkward. I just reviewed Awkward. It's gonna be for Fargo. Oh my god, that's the worst thing I've ever... That's the worst mess up ever. It's gonna be for Fargo. So I will see you guys in the next episode. Okay, bye. Not episode, I meant video. I'm so stupid, sorry. Okay, bye.